people should be treated. I want to give a couple people way back there who've been patient. Giants, is that Giants? Yep. Awesome.
I used to play a game called Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker Unit, and their main focus was self-fighting deterrent for nuclear warfare. And they resurrected somebody's mind who supposedly would weigh every option there ever possibly was before launching a counter-strike on any country that actually struck first. I was just wondering, would it be possible to resurrect somebody's mind using some kind of technology like that?
So, like, from a corpse, if they were dead?
No, not like a corpse. Just like if you actually went through and researched every little thing that they used to do and just put that into a machine, would it be possible to even recreate that person's thought pattern at all?
So the question is, if you had tons of information about a person, could you build a piece of software that would act like they would act?
Like in Caprica.
Oh, I wish I'd seen that one. Like in Caprica, was it?
Yeah. No, you don't.
I would.
But that's what they did in Caprica.
I would say. I mean, to replicate exactly, I would say no. Or at the very least, that we're very, very far from something like that. But I mean, to be honest, I eat the same thing for lunch every day. I'm fairly predictable, and depending on the kinds of decisions that you wanted Terry 2.0 to make, potentially you could come up with something that would agree with me on a fairly regular basis. That's really more of an AI problem, where basically trying to create software that has a way of prioritizing and making decisions. And that's all I know about AI. So,
I don't have any more of those.
oh, not yet.
Let's get another one from the back, way in the back. Yes.
You guys mentioned the science and entertainment exchange.
Yes.
I'm just wondering if you've ever come across or known of any cases where someone in the entertainment industry aimed to make a movie that was not just scientifically accurate for entertainment purposes, but for educational purposes, like vaccines don't cause autism and things like that.
So the question is, do we know of anybody who's wanted to make a film that, where part of their goal specifically was not just entertainment, but
Be scientifically
education?
responsible. Yeah.
I mean, I do think that there's a lot of movies with at least some sort of social message. I'm not sure that I've seen any that are that direct, like where the vast majority of the film is for that social message. But again, like Gattaca has that message. You know, you can do genetic screening, but it's not 100% accurate. But it is a movie, and it's for entertainment, for its sole purpose. Can you think of one?
I can't think of one, but I guess I feel, and I could be completely wrong, that I have seen movies where there'll be scenes where I sense the whoever was sort of checking the script for science, I sense their hand. where in the scene, a line will have been added, and like I said, this is just in my head. I'll bet you that was the tech advisor.
Lorenzo's Oil.
Lorenzo's Oil.
Oh, I have not seen. I know of it, but I haven't seen it. Apparently, I should see that.
Well, it's not sci-fi, but
It's a medical drama.
it's a medical.
Yeah.
Right, and that's based on a true story.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Good answer.
Oh, I think we need to go with the Green Lantern.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of talk about alien life and deliberate DNA changing. I want to go with the bottleneck thing. And what about accidental DNA mutation? I mean, will Japanese radiation create a real Godzilla?
Will accidental mutation, will Japanese radiation create a real Godzilla? The last that I've heard, the amounts of radiation, except very close. And again, this is the last that I heard, so please do not, check with CNN. The last I heard that most of the radioactive release was short half-life materials, so it's expected to go away quite quickly. Very near there, you'll probably have some interesting bacteria. I believe they found a bacteria that had some powerful radio resistance in Chernobyl.
Yeah, I think that's.
Godzilla, I think probably not. Godzilla, again, is one of those square cube law problems where, you know, any lizard that got that big would go, "Brrr," and then make a step, and then break all of its bones. So,
Well, the thing about mutation and evolution in general is sort of like, evolution could have given us Godzilla, right? But it hasn't yet, and it's had millions and millions of years to do so. So why would we think that a lethal dose of radiation would give us that and not the evolutionary process, right?
Because it would be cool.
It would be.
It's like Cloverfield.
Had the asteroid not hit, or however you think the dinosaurs went out, it's entirely possible that they would be writing science fiction about, can you imagine those tiny mammals, the really gross ones, the ones that we try to keep out of the home? Can you imagine if they had evolved into something with opposable thumbs?
Yeah, lately, I've been curious, how close are they to getting computers to be up to the point where they can answer questions like, one of the really cool things, like a recent Jeopardy episode that they had on was
Watson.
Watson, yeah. Where the MIT program, they were able to answer questions, except it would go off on its own little tangent every once in a while. How close are we to getting to say something like maybe up to, say, Star Trek TNG, where you're able to just talk to your computer and be able to extrapolate from the knowledge that it has and be able to answer questions for you in that way? Because I know we're not far enough up where it's going to be like intelligent. I know we're not artificial like that. How close are we to get into that middle ground?
Well, I do think that the Watson technology is pretty amazing, but it is specialized to, you know, basically figuring out those Jeopardy questions. It's not like we're having conversations with Watson.
Exactly.
So that's that whole Turing test question. I think, and we're not computer scientists, so we're not the best people to ask on that. I think we're still far away from that, but obviously we're headed in the right direction. You know, if it can start answering those kinds of questions, we're going there.
I think if you look into things like Wolfram Alpha, that was misnamed, and where Google will probably go in the next 10 years, that it won't quite be Watson-esque in real life, but it will be very impressive compared to the search engines that we have now. And if you were around when the first internet search engines came up, Google's doing a pretty good job comparatively. We've got time for just one more quick question. So,
12 years ago, they excavated a woolly mammoth from what used to be permafrost. Was there talk of trying to clone it? And are they trying to work with any of the genetic material that they got from it?
I think there's always talk of that. I think they had like something similar to a saber-toothed tiger at one point as well. Mm-hmm. I'm not aware of any of those animals being cloned. There is one specific example, and now I'm blanking.
The ibex.
Yeah.
Yeah, which the ibex died out in, I think, the 50s, and they created a clone of it.
There was a Tasmanian animal that they just brought back.
They brought back the Tasmanian wolf?
The question is bringing back the woolly mammoth based on finding woolly mammoth DNA. Most of that DNA is somewhat degraded, so you would actually have to fill in the gaps, which is a very time-consuming and expensive process. And then you would have to find an egg similar enough to a woolly mammoth egg to put that DNA into. Whether it'll never happen, I don't know, but it is certainly a goal that I would not embark on lightly. Basically, that kind of technology is really interesting. One example that has been done is resurrecting the early 1900s flu. They wanted to figure out what had made that flu so deadly, and they had really messed up DNA. But it's a relatively small piece of DNA, and they were able to, by collecting actually samples of degraded DNA from many people who died of that flu, to computationally resurrect and then recreate that flu so they could test it in the lab and prepare for a flu that bad. It's just that work on something like the woolly mammoth is much larger scale.
Did they actually, in a lab environment, recreate that flu?
With certain safety precautions based not just in the lab, but also in how they built it, yes.
Cloning technology has been around longer than most people tend to think, but mammalian cloning technology adult mammalian cloning technology is still in its infancy. So there's a lot of technical hurdles. I mean, look at Dolly and look how many times it failed before they actually got Dolly. It doesn't work that well. I think that eventually they'll figure out what's wrong with it and it'll get better and we'll be able to do this stuff more.
Is Dolly still alive? How long do these phones last?
No.
No, Dolly died a little young. They're not sure exactly why. But we should stop here. I don't want to be rude to the next group, if any. Oh, well, we were told 5 minutes. And obviously I need to back up my computer, so. Thank you all very much for coming. We appreciated your attention and your questions. If you have a book, we're happy to sign it. We'll be right outside.